That's Mark Houston outlining and Fowler. We're going to talk some Alabama, Crimson Tide Athletics, Alabama. Trying to find a way. We'll talk about it. Nick Saban, a couple of years ago, I had a chance to talk with a veteran who was about 45 years in the business. Tom Lemming's his name. Tom Lemming was probably when Mark Houston was being recruited. There was Forrest Davis, recruiting guy. I know he was out. And Tom Lemming.
Max Simfinger.
Oh, that's right. Which I always think about the coordinator at LSU. I don't know if there's any. Is there any? Is that the same last name? Or no, I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. I'm wrong. It's okay. But we start out 3 minutes in the show and I'm already wrong. But, Forrest Davis. I wonder what's wrong. Forrest Davis used to print a guide. And it was a small guide. It was just like a typical magazine. And you would go and you would read. Mark, were you a 4-star, 5-star, 3 stars?
I don't know if I got a star. I don't know if they had the star system back then, Ryan. But recruiting has definitely changed since my days. I actually found out that I got selected for stuff after I was actually on campus. That lets you know how. I mean, I was literally reading the media guide. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I got that and was recognized as that. That just shows you it was literally just things that they would just recognize people. Writers would pick people, the magazines would pick people, and you may or may not even know you were a part of it, much less the way they do it now.
So you look at the recruiting process. Tom Lemming told me that in this sport that he has covered for 45 years, he's never covered anybody like Nick Saban. He said for something about him, he said he's the best closer in the business, he's the best recruiter. And, we get a chance to see some of it. I don't know if it's really like that Aflac commercial that we see where Nick Saban is just going, this is what we're here about. Because, if you think about Jimbo Fisher, you think about, Jimbo Fisher has a national title at Florida State. But if you think about Dan Mullen, he goes in, he's trying to sell you what he thinks he's going to be able to accomplish. And if you're Nick Saban, you're coming in selling what we've done in our track record of putting 5 stars in the NFL and our draft picks. It's a pretty simple message. It would be a pretty easy sales pitch. And maybe that's why it was a perfect marriage between Alabama and Nick Saban. That mentality combined with Alabama's rich tradition is a perfect match.
Yeah, and that's why I think what happened this year is important, Ryan. One of our big recruiting grounds has been the state of Louisiana. And Ed Orgeron was already a good recruiter, but when he came down to Nick Saban saying, hey, you want to come win championships and get to the NFL? LSU could say, hey, you want to get to the NFL, but they couldn't say win championships. And for at least a year, he can, that can be an equalizer. So it's going to make this recruiting for the state of Louisiana over the next year important. And I also think that's why it's important that we blocked Georgia literally from possibly winning 2 national titles, Ryan, because Kirby Smart would have been able to say, hey, look what we've done in 3 years. We're now the new king, and we're winning championships. So I don't know if you saw the budget thing where they increased their spending. Georgia did this past year like $1 million over last year. So he understands and gets how important recruiting is, and Nick Saban taught him the way.
Well, every one of these fans from Georgia and LSU and Mississippi State and Ole Miss and Florida, they need to write Nick Saban. Their fan base needs to write Nick Saban a thank you letter. They never will, but Nick Saban raised the bar with facilities. Mm-hmm. He made this it's an arm race, but he made these programs dedicate resources to building facilities. Look at this place, Martin.
I promise you, I've looked at it.
Walk into your weight room compared to what you guys had in that corner office, and it was. Martin, I'm not trying to be mean. There's high school weight rooms
that were equivalent to what we have. Oh, have you? I was actually showing Simeon the other day. Thompson High School, Mark Freeman,
sure.
Great guy.
Yes.
they have an indoor facility that if you didn't know anything and you just watched it, it looks just like Alabama's indoor facility. So yes, the high schools now have even more than what we had at times, and I think Florida's still trying to get an indoor facility.
And they're adding, because of Jeff Allen, because of Scott Cochran, they're adding an entire new sports science facility.
And it's needed. I mean, think about it, and that's to me, Ryan. That's what makes Nick Saban the coach he is. It's not just what he's done on the football field. It's the change he's made around the game. I mean, there are now nutritionists, head nutritionists with nutrition staffs on college campuses now, where they have the food and they feed the players properly. And you look at what Jeff Allen and his team did with the sideline medical tent. That's all over the nation in every sporting event. And that originated right here in Tuscaloosa under Nick Saban's leadership and tutelage.
But you look at the grind that it takes. Let me take you to East Lansing up in the what is Michigan? What's that state? I was about to say Garden State, but that's New Jersey. What's Michigan? It's the state of. It's the what now? What'd you say? The state that didn't know anything about football.
This is home of the most overpaid coach in the history of college football.
But and we can focus on him. But let's go to Mark D'Antonio for a minute. I think Mark D'Antonio is a good coach. I think he's when we had a chance to cover him, he's a little different guy. He's more of a quiet, and it was real so funny after losing to Alabama the way they did. He really had it was a neutral response. It was kind of really crazy. Like Nick Saban loses, he's pretty upset. Mark D'Antonio came in the press room in Dallas, and it was just kind of like, no problem. The off season starts a couple of weeks early. I mean,
glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Sometimes some folks just glad to get to go to the show, man.
And
if they get to the show,
it's like we'll make the T-shirts. We were here. We played Alabama. We took our beating and
we went home.
We went home. Mark D'Antonio today retired from college football, and this is some of the things that he used: burnout, tired of year-round recruiting. Now let's stop there. And I've got 3 or 4 comments that I want to go to because we're going to tie this back to Nick Saban. At the grind of his age at 68, tired of year-round recruiting. Now, we've made this recruiting cycle where it's 12 months. I mean, there is no minimum time when you talk about the world of recruiting. When you begin to look at National Signing Day, early signing day, this signing day, those are the comments when you hear coaches that are literally they're worn out, burnout, tired of the grind. I want to spend more time with my family. Now, Mark, we're not having just one example of that. You go back to Washington, Chris Peterson, who a guy at about 4 or 5 years ago had amazing stock value as a college coach. People thought that maybe he could be the next big-time elite coach. The grind got to him. What does that say about Nick Saban? Is it just he embraces it? He's got to love it to be able to continue this. If he signs the number 1 class, it will be 9 out of 10 years that he would have signed the number 1 class according to 247 Sports.
Yeah, he goes on to say not having time to reflect and enjoy the good moments. And I think that's the ticket there, Ryan, is what do these coaches want to do? And, these younger guys are getting into it with this understanding of the grind that it is. And I think that this second or first, signing day in December has changed it for some of these older guys. Because right now, think about Clemson, the number 1 team in the country, Ryan. They're already closing out their 21 class. I mean,
how crazy is that?
Yeah, they literally 2 weeks ago got like 3 top 5 recruits. 2 weeks ago. And hadn't even signed. Hadn't even closed out this recruiting class. So, but it's year round and it's starting earlier and the competition is earlier. You used to go out, Ryan, and if you were a Big Ten school, you didn't have to worry about all the other conferences being able to be in your backyard.
Well, think about the Big Ten. They had a policy that if somebody had committed to them, then the other schools would just back off.
That's what I'm saying. And now, but guess what, Ryan? That didn't matter. That even if they had that policy now, the field would still be different because now Alabama goes up into to Michigan and
Go ahead and
Florida.
back off. Go back on.
That's right.
Saban and Dan Mullen go take the scraps.
And now you have a guy out in Oregon, and that's going to come this way. So now the recruiting landscape is everybody's right next door now. There is no such thing as the distance being an issue. And when I was coming up, kids weren't willing to leave as much. In other words, you didn't have that many kids. You can go back 10 years ago. You didn't have kids coming consistently from California to the Southeastern Conference. Even though you had a national brand, you were still recruiting, within your footprint and around your state and your border. And every once in a while, and it usually took what? A family member or a story or a connection or something that made that person come across the country or from New York or whatever. And now you have these coaches, they have to recruit, Ryan, get guys committed, then they have to recruit and try to get them signed early. When they don't sign early, they have to recruit them again. You think about Jordan Burch, kid from South Carolina, committed. And now he's been recruited harder. He's actually probably been recruited harder since the signing day than he was before because now all the coaches had all of their resources. Most of their guys signed, so they were able to focus in on a Jordan Burch. So even more people started recruiting him and even more intense. So it's it's demanding. And I think the guy he's, like you said, he's a good guy, but he just realized this is not what I signed up for. The game has changed, and I'm not ready to fight it.
How does all of that impact the University of Alabama? One coach is looking at the NFL, saying, you know what? I don't want to grind like this. I'll head to the NFL. We'll talk about it next, right here on Alabama Tradition, the past, present, and future of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
So we